So today for BUS 200, we're talking about professionalism at work, business etiquette, ethics, teamwork, and meetings. Now, our first opportunity to discuss this is basically about building up your credibility and gaining that competitive advantage. But it also incorporates on how do you fit within the workplace? What are your business etiquette skills? So we're going to jump right into it and talk about professionalism. Now, professionalism is a combination of things people use interchangeably. They use the word soft skills, social intelligence, polish, civility, and also business protocol as a way to communicate what is professionalism. Well, one thing about it is that one survey of 20,000 employees showed that 54% of those in the workplace don't feel respected by their leaders. And of those who do feel respected, 92% say they're more focused, they have much better health, and they're more engaged. Well, it would make sense that rude behavior affects those thinking skills and helpfulness, and it greatly impacts performance. Now, we also have information such as this new thing that you may have heard of called desk rage or cyberbullying by people who work in the workplace. And so many organizations have established rules and protocols against that, but that still occurs in some businesses, and it tremendously impacts how professional you feel at work. So we also talk about on this slide here, you'll see there's a slide here about civility. Civility here is basically defined as any rude, disrespectful, or intensive or insensitive behavior that happens at work. We don't want that. So you want to keep in mind that that's a big issue in workplaces that we have today, so much so that organizations are putting things in place and rules in place to ensure that doesn't happen. Polish. You've heard this word, hey, are they polished? They don't seem very polished because they come in without this professional appearance or at least perception. So when you hear about that, you really think about, the first impression a person makes, whether or not they had a really strong handshake, whether or not their voice was very clear, whether or not they had good character. All those things go around how people feel about you. And let's not forget social media that also impacts what people think about you as well. Business and dining etiquette. Well, you say, that shouldn't matter. People should be okay with however I go out and eat, at restaurants. Well, the reality is that even though we can't go right now because of COVID-19, business and dining ethics matter. You need to be sure that you understand it. And it's not ethics, I meant etiquette. Etiquette is not just about eating, but it's how you work and be in an environment of people who are serving you. How you treat the wait staff, how do you interact with people at the dining table when there's no food. So those things make a big difference. And the last one that we'll talk about is social intelligence, which is this yellow circle here. Social intelligence is basically the ability to get along with others and get them to cooperate with you. Now, these are skills that you really need to have in addition to this one big circle here. Soft skills. Soft skills are those skills that it's hard to put your finger on, but you know them when you see it. So, for example, the top 3 skills that managers say they want to have in an employee is the ability for them to prioritize their work, how to get things done. Are they dependable? Do they have a really good attitude? Are they able to make eye contact? Can they work in a diverse work environment? Do they have good workplace manners? All those things incorporate those soft skills that companies and professionals always look for. So I want you to be thinking about that from a student perspective, how you can be sure those soft skills are developed as you're moving forward in this class as we're discussing this conversation. Now, there's this graph on page 329 that's actually an excellent way to look at 6 dimensions of professional behavior. Now, the graph is pretty detailed and illustrated, but it incorporates a number of elements, and I'll just hit high level. Your appearance and how you appear to other people, your tolerance and how you interact with individuals. Are you treating people correctly? Do you have self-control? Your honesty. Are you respecting others? Are you truthful? Do you feel empathy if something happens to someone? Do you feel that, you're very sorry about that? For example, the next 3 are reliability. Can people rely on you to get your work done? Do you leave when things have to be done, or are you diligent about making sure you go the extra mile? Collegiality, sharing, showing up prepared. If you're going to be at a meeting and you're the person leading the meeting, there are certain things you have to do to stay in control. Are you helpful? And then the last one is one that really shouldn't have to be on here, but it is courtesy and respect. Are you prompt at getting information to people? Are you able to give criticism, or potentially give gracious experience where they can feel that they are getting good insight from you? Are you able to apologize if something goes wrong? And then do you have a degree of sincerity? Those are the 6 dimensions of professional behavior. Now, the reason why we're talking about this is that professionalism leads to success. I know it sounds like it should be a no issue, but good manners and business-like professional demeanor are among the top skills that employers seek, and they're looking for that, especially in the younger job market or job candidates, to ensure that you have what it takes to be successful. Projecting and maintaining a professional image can make a real difference and help you get that job of your dreams. Wouldn't that be nice? Now, how do you gain an etiquette advantage? So this is really unique. I thought this was kind of a fun slide, actually. You want to express appreciation for people, respect coworkers' space. You don't want to go in their space and just throw trash around or sit on their desk. Those things can be very offensive to a number of employees. Don't put people down. Be selective in sharing personal information. At work is not the place to air all your dirty laundry. So keep some of those things to yourself. Use polite words. Be aware of the things you say make people feel a certain way. So you want to have that etiquette edge to be able to be a positive person in the workplace. Continue to incorporate how to rise above rudeness. Choose the high road in conflict. Sometimes you say, hey, I wasn't in it, I didn't know, and you keep moving on. You don't indulge in the negative. Be considerate when sharing someone's space and equipment. If you have a small space or they have a small space, be respectful. Don't come and put your bottle or your trash in that area. And you want to be able to disagree agreeably. This can be very challenging for some people because everybody wants to argue. Well, this is a way that you want to be soft in your delivery and even softer in how you approach certain critical conversation. Now let's talk about your voice. Your voice is a communication tool. You want to master it to be able to be successful in the workplace, and it allows you to foster those really good relationships going forward. So as you would expect, having communication and having meetings, conversations, and video conferences like we're having today is a very rich form of communication. You're using face-to-face, using video, using audio. The lesser communication tactics are basically things such as newsletters or flyers that are basically almost a one-way communication. You also can use letters and memos, and even chats and blogs are also available for you to communicate, but they're not as personable as someone talking to you the way I'm talking to this camera, as if you're sitting right here with me. So how do you make sure your voice is a communication tool? This can be very difficult for students because you don't typically think about this as a tool, but your voice is a communication tool that you can master. So here are some quick tips. You want to improve your pronunciation, work on your voice quality, master emphasis, and combat those verbal tics. What that means is that if you know that you always purse your lips, or you always fidget, or you have extreme eye movement, those things can be overcome if you know about them. So you can master those things in your voice to maybe control those things while you're speaking. Control your pitch. Adjust your volume and the rate at which you speak. You've got to be mindful of those who are around you and your overall audience. And so here are a few things. I thought this was pretty funny, actually, when I was reviewing this information and how we want to improve our communication. And it gives you some examples about the word etc. Some of us say etc. as if it's EX, but it's actually ET. Or I'm going to go to the store instead of saying I'm going to go to the store. Or pronouncing the word library as if it's library. No, no, no. Or supposedly instead of supposedly. So you want to keep in mind those things really help you improve your pronunciation and enunciation if you work on them. In addition to that, when you're trying to improve your voice quality, it's okay to record yourself. How do you sound? Do you sound alert, happy, positive, or not at all friendly? It depends on how you perceive whether or not you'll be an effective communicator. Control your pitch. You want to practice to use a relaxed, controlled, well-pitched voice. It takes time, but you can work on it and you can master it. And there are many of us who have really flat, monotone voices, and that's okay. but learn how to control your overall pitch to be even more successful in your academic life, as well as when you go off to school and then go out into the career world. Adjust your volume and your rate. You want to speak as loudly or as softly as the occasion demands. Don't make your listeners strain to hear you. Incorporate volume control as you're speaking. And we talked about those verbal tics as well. You can read more about that in your book as well. So, making workplace conversation matter, there are some things you want to focus on. You want to be able to address the people who are working with you or those you don't know, particularly by addressing them by using their last name, Mr. or Miss, even if you know them. In some organizations, senior staff members speak to junior employees by first name basis, but they don't do that when it's a senior manager. So it depends on the way the company is organized and whether or not that's the case for everyone in the organization. When you meet strangers, you have trouble finding their name or remembering their name, associate their name with something. So if you meet someone and they happen to have a name like Alice, maybe for example you may mention, oh, it's like Alice in Wonderland. Or David, you may mention, oh, like David and Goliath, David in the Bible. So you may think about those things to be able to remember names a little bit easier. Avoid those negative remarks in the workplace. Don't continue to spread rumors, and if someone says, well, what do you think about someone? You say, well, hey, have never done anything to me, don't have anything negative to say. I promise you they will stop talking to you right away. Then you want to listen to learn. Sometimes, we realize, oh, we know it all, we got it, we need no more help. Well, you want to figure out that in conversations, you want to train yourself to expect to learn something. So instead of saying, oh, I've heard it all and tune it out, tune it in so you can really say, well, maybe they may say something I may need to hear, or at least one nugget of information. You want to act professionally in social situations. And then last in this case, you want to choose appropriate topics. This could mean if you're at a dinner party, you want to talk about things that are appropriate for an open gathering or open session. You want to focus on, things that are nice and light. If you're at a holiday party, for example, you want to speak about things that are positive versus things that could be negative for your career. And so one area that I think would be really challenging for most of us is to receive criticism. Now, this is talking about workplace criticism, but I'm going to tell you that this happens in schools too, in the academic setting in our classroom. And sometimes you don't want to hear the negative, but unfortunately, sometimes the negative is what makes us better because we can learn from that. But delivery is important as well. So when someone's delivering negative news, or you have to deliver negative news in the workplace, keep in mind no one likes to receive this negative news. However, if you want to do this and your job is normal, you want to be able to make the criticism to be effective and constructive. So listen without interrupting. Determine the speaker's intent. They may not really know how to communicate to you or to, about a situation, but they can do it in a very positive and professional way. You can also acknowledge what you're hearing. You may say something as if, I understand you have a concern. I will work on that. I disagree with what you said, but I'm willing to work on my behavior. So you really are trying to de-escalate the situation to communicate that you heard what you heard. And the next thing you can do is paraphrase what was said. You may say something about, well, let me let you know what I'm hearing you say. And that allows you to paraphrase information and communicate what you just heard. More conversation about this, and you can read more about these in your book as well. You can also agree if the comments are accurate. You know for sure if something is accurate, and you can say, yes, I agree, and I'm going to work on that. Okay. In addition to that, here's more information. You want to kind of be particularly specific if you're having to provide criticism on the job. The first one was more so about receiving criticism. So say you have to provide criticism. You want to be very specific, offer to help, mentally outline your conversation. I always say plan what you're going to say before you say it. It helps you to get through the conversation a little bit better. Focus on improving the person versus attacking the person. That takes a special skill as well, but I think you can master it if you practice it. You want to discuss the behavior, not the person. Don't jump on someone and say you, but there's a way that you can actually incorporate having more favorable conversation about what happened versus being so attackful with the person. You want to avoid anger and sarcasm and a raised voice. And you want to try to keep it private. Not everybody wants to know or needs to know that something is happening with a particular employee. And let's go into learning outcome number 3. When you're making a telephone call, you want to plan your agenda. You want to have an idea, what do you want to communicate to the next person? You want to use a 3-point introduction. Call the person by name, give your name, and identify a reason for calling. Now, I'm sure most of you have received a call that says, hey, this is John. And you're thinking, okay, who is John? And so you want to be able to understand that the other person on the other line may not remember who you are, may not have your number programmed, or may not be prepared for the conversation. So be cheerful and be accurate when you're actually making a phone call, especially when you're trying to be professional. You want to end the call politely, avoid those telephone tags. What that means is that tell someone when the best time is to reach you. So that way they'll know, hey, Monday and Wednesday I'm all tied up. I'm available on Tuesday and Thursday. Leave complete voicemail messages. I always encourage people to leave their phone number at least twice and say your name at least twice. And you may mention the company that you're calling from. Most people don't have a pen handy to be able to write your information down. So we need to have give them time to do so, or at least remember that it was you calling, or to save your message. If you're trying to receive a phone call, you want to act professional. You want to answer promptly and courteously instead of saying what's up or hey, like we do sometimes here. You want to be professional. Hi, this is Alice, or hi, this is Miss Holloway. Whatever is your comfort level based on the professional person that you're speaking with. You want to also, if you're receiving a telephone message, take the message carefully. It's hard to write your number down and expect someone to read it when you haven't, taken the time to write a nice note or clear, easy handwriting. I will be the first to tell you, my handwriting is not great, but I really do get messages correctly, but I try to remember not everyone can read my writing, so I try to write it a little clearer for those who may be reading it. And of course, information about smartphones. I don't have to tell you a lot about that, but you do want to show courtesy. You want to keep your volume down. If you're speaking to someone on your cell phone and you're in a restaurant or an elevator and no one wants to hear you screaming and talking loud and being disrespectful, and so everyone has to hear your conversation. Smartphones help you do a lot, but you want to be able to put them in their place. Don't text and drive, pull over. Choose a professional ringtone. How many times have you heard a ringtone and it was a song that you said, uh-oh, that was inappropriate for my boss to hear or for my teacher to hear as well? And there's more information about, how do we use voicemail and how do we ensure that we are being professional in our respective way of communicating on the receiver's end. And then on the caller's end as well, when you're actually trying to call someone, you want to be prepared to leave a message. Sometimes when I call people that are not prepared, I just hang up and call back. Or I will delete the message in their box and just re-leave another message so it's more concise and it's more detailed and it provides information just that I want to communicate to them. And the last couple pieces here talks about understanding the importance of teamwork as we work in this digital environment. So we're working in a digital environment right now. Well, how do we do that? We do that by working in teams. So why do we form a team? We form a team for a number of reasons. The reason why here in college at Stanford University, we encourage our teams. We want you to understand the ability to work together, collaboration. We want you to understand working with other people who have different ideas than you and how to agree and disagree but still achieve a common goal. So forming a team helps to do a number of things. Helps you to have better decisions where you can generate more effective and accurate, effective information. You can have faster responses because people are able to say, hey, good idea. Pick your idea up and move forward. It helps to improve your morale, increases productivity, greater buy-in. That means people say, great idea. I like it. Let's do it. And have reduced risk. So it's not just one person carrying all of the conversation or all of the issues. Most of us like to work in teams because it's not just you on the hook. It's all of us on the hook. There's some information. You may have seen this, or if you have not, I would highly encourage you to keep this in mind. There are 4 phases of team development. Forming here, storming, norming, and performing. Forming, storming, norming, and performing. So in the forming portion, we're selecting our members, we're getting accustomed to each other, we're building that trust. Most of the time, groups do not do well because they don't trust each other. Someone's always saying, what are you doing? What's your underlying reason for doing this, etc. In storming, you want to identify problems. You want to collect information and gather details and share insight. And you want to prioritize your goals. In norming, you really are deciding, okay, we're going to get alternatives addressed, apply the criteria, and prioritize other alternatives that are out there. And now the real work begins. You have to select alternatives if you're going to perform, analyze the effects of your decision, implement your plan, and manage it. So these are very critical in business, these 4 phases of team development. Virtual teams, I feel like we already are in this environment right now because COVID-19 has changed the game for us. And so we're going to continue to work, though, in our virtual teams in our classroom. We do this by collaborating with other people in other cities and other countries, for example. In our class right now, it's just us in this area, but you guys are all over the place. So this gives us an idea that you can work collaboratively even across state lines or city lines. Coordinate tasks across geographic zones. Participate and collaborate locally. You want to pull your expertise together. This is what I really like here, that you're able to pull expertise from various contributors. You want to accomplish tasks without having face-to-face contact. Sometimes if you're face-to-face, you get off on a tangent and something else takes your attention. Well, you want to keep focusing on the virtual teams, still can get things done and be just as effective as those teams that are in person. Positive team behavior. So what I would always encourage you to do is focus on how do you keep all these things in play. First of all, you want to have positive team behaviors, and there's certain things that you want to do, and I've done this, I believe, with our class. You want to set rules to abide by. You want to analyze, the task and how you're going to accomplish those tasks, how information will be contributed to the cause, how to show interest, and encourage those people to participate. If you can't get people to talk and meet in person, you have to be able to cross those lines virtually and get them still to engage in positive team behavior. Negative team behavior, there's a whole lot there. Negative team behavior can really result in conflict, but negative team behavior really blocks ideas out of others. It can be insulting and criticizing. It can be wasting others' time. It can be making jokes that are improper. You don't want all of that. And people start to withdraw, and they don't participate, which is a negative way that team behavior can impact performance as well. So in successful teams, you always want to be a team player. Now, sometimes when you're working in groups, there always is someone who is always the last minute person, the person who says, I don't remember what we were supposed to do while we're doing it. So you always need to be able to at least show that you are trying to be a successful teammate. So in order to do that, you want to do a number of these things here. You want to stay small and embrace diversity, agree on the purpose and procedures, communicate effectively, try to, confront conflict if you can. And you also want to, go back here, collaborate rather than compete. I know those are 2 C's, but they mean 2 different things. So you want to be able to collaborate with everybody versus competing with them. So competing is kind of elbowing them out. Sharing your leadership. People sometimes, you may be the person who's putting together the function, but you may not be the leader. So it's important that we know for sure about those leadership behaviors. I feel some hot sun on my face today. Wow. And then there are 6 steps for dealing with a conflict. We're going to start wrapping up here. But the first thing you want to do is listen. Use these 2 ears. You have 2 for a reason and 1 mouth. Understand the other person's point of view. Show that you care about the relationship. Look for common ground. Number 5, invent new problem-solving options. And number 6, reach an agreement based on what is fair. I know it sounds easier said than done, but it can be done when you're thinking about these 6 steps to dealing with conflict. Now, the rest of this information is in your book. It's basically talking about time wasters or opportunities. I will let you read more about that as you're reading the last part of chapter 11 on meetings, time wasters, or opportunities. Some people say, I'm meeting to meet, and they never get anything done. And that is a true statement. That can happen as well. But we're not going to be time wasters. We're going to be working on opportunities when we meet. Planning meetings. You want to get the right person on the team. You want to use a digital calendar for scheduling. People like to be reminded. Let's just remember that no matter where you go, Everyone likes a nice reminder. I do. I'm sure you do as well. People want to know what's on the agenda ahead of time. They don't want to get to the meeting and say, oh, I didn't know I was on the agenda. Well, let's know about this in advance. Yikes, it's some hot sun. Determine the purpose of the meeting. You want to be able to think about that before you go to the meeting. Train others on the technology. What I have to do when I have some speakers is to train them in advance before we have our meeting so they feel comfortable, they're in good shape, they know what's expected, and no one feels uncomfortable. So you can do more information on managing your meeting, summarize what's going on, encourage participation, and basically start taking notes to basically keep everybody on track. Stay on time and remember those ground rules, or set those ground rules first so everyone is on the same page. So that's wrapping up the end of our meeting information on Chapter 11. There is more to be covered, but you can read more about virtual meetings. I think are very important, best practices for those virtual meetings, and basically how to ensure that those virtual meetings are very clear, you're very precise, you know how to handle those meetings, because this is our new world. So that concludes Professionalism at Work for Chapter 11 for BUS 200.